Can I tell you something else? It's important. Busted makes me feel no. It makes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Kearns, and with me is Mike K, and we're going to do a open discussion on Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Fun story. I thought we were doing this on Mike's channel, and Mike thought we were doing this here. So I'm not mentally prepared to host a stream. So I'm just letting you know this is going to be a train wreck, and this video might just be unlisted. So if you're here to watch the fun, welcome. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you this evening?
Could be doing better, but hey, this is the fun world of YouTube, isn't it? After all, Mike, tell the people a little about your history of Ghostbusters whilst I share this video to the proper channels.
So my history with Ghostbusters is a bit of an interesting one. I never actually saw the first film until about 10 years ago, at least in its entirety. I've seen like, clips of it before and the occasional glance on TV. But most of my exposure to Ghostbusters was growing up with the real Ghostbusters cartoon, which I still haven't seen in it's been a minute since the last time I watched it, but I remember that being the most prominent exposure to the franchise, and then all the toys and all the merchandise and stuff. But it's really been the last 10 years I've become a little bit more invested in the Ghostbusters franchise.
Okay, yeah. So my history with Ghostbusters, I was in fourth grade, and I found the DVD amongst my parents' collection of DVDs. Didn't know what it was, watched it, loved it, even though I was way too young to watch it, and quoted things I didn't even understand. Yeah, like I said, wasn't prepared for this, so that was more just a filler thing because I didn't even share the link out. But that's pretty much Ghostbusters. It's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I absolutely adore this series. I like the second one. Loved Afterlife. Thought it was great. Never saw the 2016 one. Don't ever care to see the 2016 one. No, it's not because it's all ladies. It's because it's a comedy movie, and from those trailers, it didn't look funny. And from what I've heard, it's not funny. So why waste my time? But Afterlife I thought was really great, and honestly, I thought it was going to be the end of the series, but it's not. It is far from being the last because we have Frozen Empire. So, Mike, this is just going to be a really just open discussion. So, spoilers. Hold on, let me make a banner here because people are gonna. Okay, spoilers. We're going to be talking spoilers. If you don't want Ghostbusters Frozen Empire to be spoiled for you, don't watch this video. So, Mike, you can literally talk about whatever you want. So, what do you think about this movie?
I think overall, I really liked it. I'm not sure if I liked it more than Afterlife. I think it has some higher highs, some lower lows. We'll get to that in a second, but generally speaking, I think I enjoyed the stuff that I enjoyed was like the mythology behind our main villain. I think his design is very cool, very simple but effective. I think the opening prologue in 20th century New York was awesome. Really did a nice job setting the tone for what was to come later. And I liked some of the new characters, some of them.
To my knowledge, there's only 3 that I can think of off the top of my head that are new. Are there more? Because there's Camille Nanjiani, there's Patton Oswalt, and there's stuck-up British dude. That's it. That's all I can think of.
Are we not including the
anyone who was in Afterlife, you can't really consider them a new character. They were in Afterlife.
That's not who I was talking about.
Oh.
I was talking about Melody.
Oh, right. My bad. 4. Yeah, I loved Afterlife. I think that's really important to know. Like, I genuinely, like, I like Ghostbusters too, but like, I genuinely can say, looking at the Ghostbusters series, I love Ghostbusters and I love Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I was very excited for this. And from the trailers, it made it seem like after the events of Afterlife, the Ghostbusters from 1984 and everything were now teamed up with the Spanglers and Paul Rudd from Afterlife, and they were all working together. And that's not really the case. And I get that's like trailers and everything, but that is how it made it seem to me, like, oh, they're all Ghostbusters. And that is something that this movie doesn't really explain, because like Afterlife didn't end with that, like, we're gonna be Ghostbusters now. Like, you just open it's just like, we live in New York now and we're Ghostbusters. Like, it doesn't it and again, it almost feels like a sequel to a movie that didn't happen. Like, there's a movie to where, oh, a bunch of ghost stuff is happening in New York City. The Spanglers and Gary are going to move from Oklahoma to New York City to reopen the Ghostbusters with Winston bankrolling the whole thing. Like, it feels like there's a movie that we missed that could have been in itself its own movie, but we didn't see it for some reason. Which, okay, fine. Like, that's just how movies are now, I guess.
Not only that, I just found out recently that there was a comic book that that sort of tied together the events of Afterlife and Frozen Empire.
Okay, I'm half okay with that because I like comic books and I've gone back into them very recently. But like with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I don't like when extra media is required to understand the movie. Like, extra media should be there to just expand the world, not explain the film. That's just me. Because, you know, with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, it's like they literally never explain what the politics and the government are in Star Wars now. And it's like, oh, well, in Claudia Gray's Lost Galaxy, and it's like, dude, I'm not reading a freaking novel. The movie should tell me, but that's neither here nor there. But that is, I guess they took the time to do that. But again, so that was one of my things. So talking about characters, man, were 2 characters from Afterlife. They really had to do some gymnastics to get them back. And podcast makes sense. Like, I'm like, okay, he was kind of Ray-like in the last one. Him and Phoebe are friends. I can kind of see it. What was his name? T?
Lucky.
Lucky. That's it. Lucky. What are you doing here? Like, okay, I get you helped with the last one, but like, genuinely, that whole like, oh, I'm doing an internship. It's like, why is Winston offering internships to like teenagers to work in Ghostbusters Corp? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it seems like that, like, well, they got to be here because they were in the last one. It's like,
do they though?
And it runs to a bigger problem of there's way too many characters in this movie.
There are.
Like, Finn Wolfhard, blink and you miss him in this movie. Like, he so has nothing to do in this film, which is unfortunate because I think he was really good in the last one, but he, like, genuinely, they give him like a subplot with Slimer, and that's it. Like, he really, he's kind of just like, they have this whole thing of he's 18 and so he wants to be considered an adult now, and it just is kind of a blink and you miss it kind of like not paying attention line in the very busy, which I'm fine with, very busy opening sequence that you're just like if you weren't really paying attention to that, his moment with his mom, like when he's talking about there's a leak coming from the ceiling, she's like, "Oh, you're an adult." You'd be like, "Why is mom being such a jerk now?" Like, because amongst all the craziness that opening, you could miss that. So that's a shame. Yeah, that's just smaller, like less amount of characters could have really gone to push the story a little bit more. However, happy to give credit where credit is due. McKenna Grace is still amazing as Phoebe, as she was in the last one.
I think she gives the best performance out of everyone.
And for someone who I think she's only like 17 or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Which I feel a little, whenever I look up younger actors, we're around the same age. I always just feel weird. But I'm looking this up. Yeah, no, she's 17. She's born in 06. Jesus, she's amazing. Like, she really is. I'm talking about her story. I've seen a lot of people giving flack to her story with, I've just been calling her Ghost.
Melody.
Melody. A lot of people have been giving crap to that story, and I honestly can't disagree more, because the whole thing is, Phoebe. By the way, if you're watching this, I said it at the top, we're not going to recap the movie because this was planned but not really discussed well. So you better watch the movie to know what the hell is going on. So basically, like, Phoebe is forced out of the Ghostbusters and kind of forced out of her family. So she's feeling left behind. And Melody is literally left behind by her family because they all moved on to the afterlife and she didn't. And so obviously these two characters are going to, like, they're both feeling lonely and they're going to bond over that. I mean, I don't really want to get into it, but I saw a lot of really shitty people try to be like, oh, they're just trying to force a romance, which personally I didn't see it. Like, I just saw it as two lonely people becoming friends over shared kind of like, we're left behind by our families. But I mean, if you want to read into that, fine. And also, who cares? That's the other thing. Who cares?
Well, yeah. Although I will admit, I did see some romance.
There was a moment. I'm not going to lie.
There was
the moment when she becomes a ghost, when Phoebe becomes a ghost. I was like, are they gonna? Which, again, to quote Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that, because there's not. I mean, it's a little weird that it's ghosts, but who am I to judge Phoebe? But no, I honestly, I thought that worked, and I thought that whole story worked, and I really liked that moment when Phoebe and Podcast go to the diner, because there's a ghost report, and it's Melody sitting there, and Phoebe lets her go, and then later on they have the conversation. She's like, I'm a really good shot. It's like, oh yeah? It's like, yeah. I'm like, you know what? That's cool. But for other gripes I have, and this is just merely my own gripe, I get Bill Murray is a man who is so big he doesn't really have to do movies unless he wants to do them, but I wanted more Peter Venkman in this, because the Peter Venkman we got in this was fantastic. Just like in the last movie, he can still turn this character on so well that I wanted him. Because that scene when they bring, I'm going to butcher his name, Camille
Nanjiani.
What's his character's name? That might be easier for me to just say his character's name. The Firebender.
Yes, that Nadim Razmati.
Oh, that doesn't make it easier at all. Nadim. I'm gonna call him Nadim, which is his character's name. I just don't like butchering actors' names at all. I hate doing that. So Nadim, that scene when Peter Venkman keeps throwing the pens at him, it's so perfect, and it so relates back to when we first meet Peter Venkman. He's doing the shock treatment, like. But again, it plays into they're thinking what he could be, and you see the fire going every time he hits him with the pen, and you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I just wanted more people, because when he does pop up, he's just like, hey, did you guys use some help here? Melman's suiting up, nice. It's just, he's so perfect. But and I feel like I'm doing this entire movie. It's like for every great thing it does, it pulls it down. When him and Peck meet again, why is some random ADR doing the crowd calling Peck Dickless and not Peter Venkman? Like, why did Peter Venkman not call him Mayor Dickless? Like, you had the moment. Hey, Mayor Dickless, how you doing?
Right there.
Like, you had it right there. And again, I know we're bouncing around this discussion, but I think I did enjoy this movie. I said it on another video I was watching of someone. This is definitely going to be a like day one Blu-ray pickup for me. Like, I definitely want to own this and rewatch it, but it's one of those movies to where the good definitely outweighs the bad for me in this movie personally. The good outweighs the bad, but there is some bad, and there is some like, just if you gave the edit or the script just one more pass, could have been perfect.
About that, one of my sub problems with there being too many characters, too many of the characters are delivering the exposition, which here's the thing. Exposition is kind of baked into the DNA of Ghostbusters.
Yes.
But usually it's only relegated to like Ray or Egon.
Yeah.
Here you have like 3 or 4 different people giving entire pages of exposition. And that can grind things down to a halt.
Yeah, and it's like, and again, it's they do like Gary has like this moment where it's almost this weird moment of like, in case somebody didn't see Afterlife, let's reestablish that we were in Oklahoma, and I was a teacher studying geology in Oklahoma. It's like, what? Your girlfriend knows this. She knows this. She was there, Gary. Oh, are you doing this for the audience that didn't see Afterlife? Okay. Like, it'd almost be like if in Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo was talking to Princess Leia, and he's like, man, I remember just a couple years ago when I was in the cantina and Ben Kenobi hired me to take him to Alderaan, but it turns out Alderaan was destroyed by the Death Star, so we went to the Death Star. It's like, oh, we all know this already, Han. We're well aware. But talking about Gary, one of the strengths. And God, I hate doing this. One of the strengths and one of the misses is that story with him and the kids. I thought was great, of just like, what am I to them? Am I their friend? Am I their dad? Am I this? And you have that moment in the police station with Phoebe to where he does get stern and he does, let's rightfully call her out. And then at the end, that moment with Phoebe, I love, where she calls him dad. And it's so like, but again, it's you had less characters and you allowed some of these things to sit a little bit more, how much stronger that moment could have been, you know?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that those two characters, without like the crowd of some of the other players, those moments could have hit so much harder.
Yeah. And that's the unfortunate thing, and I think that is the sort of like iffiness of this movie is stuff like that. But again, I think this is a good movie. I think it is a solid movie. You know, where would I rank this in the quadrilogy? I don't really know right now, because again, I've seen all the other ones dozens of times and I've only seen this one once, so I can't really rank it. And I really like Ghostbusters 2 as well. I'm not. Where do you stand on that? I'm not Ghostbusters 2 hater. I really like that movie.
There is not a single Ghostbusters movie, yes, including the 2016, that I wholly dislike.
Mm-hmm.
I may like them more than others. Like I think the first one is,
it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's untouchable. One of the best 80s comedies ever.
Easily.
Ghostbusters 2, I really like. I can see why some people dislike it, but I think I find the villain a little bit more fun in Ghostbusters 2. Like Ghosts are still great, but
Yeah.
Vigo the Carpathian.
Vigo the Carpathian commands you. Don't look up that actor that they used for that. Just oh boy, isn't an interesting story if you look up the guy who played Vigo. Also, that's not his voice. That's Max von Sydow doing the voice of Vigo.
Of course,
in that movie.
is.
Yeah, no, but again, I think this movie is good, not great, and I think that's the whole thing. Yeah, I think out of the new characters, Gary and Phoebe are the strongest. Once again, which is what I felt about the last movie. I thought they were both the strongest in that, so they continue on, which is great because I love Paul Rudd, and it's always so nice to be like, yes, Paul Rudd is getting wins, which means he's not just going to be connected to Marvel forever. Awesome. I mean, just moving on to another franchise doesn't really mean anything, but whatever. Was going to say, talking about the original characters more, Winston and Ray are fantastic in this, and that discussion about like these are our golden years and everything. It's funny. I can't remember. I've watched so many reviews of Frozen Empire since I saw it on Saturday that they kind of meld together. So I'm not sure who to give the credit to that said this, but they compared that moment to in the first movie when Winston and Ray are talking about Judgment Day, when they're driving around in the car and everything. And it's just like, yeah, like it's really quiet moment between Ray and Winston. So they really just kind of lay it out. And I really like that. I thought that was great. And Ernie Hudson is fantastic in this.
Oh yeah. I think he's doing some of his best work in like playing the character in this and really kind of getting a bigger role than he had even in the first movie.
Yeah. And Dan Aykroyd's great. I love his whole thing of he basically does this like show just to basically find possessed items and give them to Winston. And if not, they just destroy him with a mallet because, but that is a very Ray thing. And I love that moment when what is it? She's like, somebody left like a French fry. He's like, oh no, that's a decaying pinky. It's like, yeah, that's Ray. Although that does feel a little bit more like a Egon thing because Egon collected Moore's. What is it? What's the line? It's like, I collect Moore's spores and fungus. Oh, that's very interesting. I like to play racquetball. Annie Potts, I still love her. Which is funny. On this very channel, we did top 12 Bill Murray movies, and we talked about Ghostbusters 2, and I brought up, I was like, I kind of hate how they're like Janine and Egon are a thing in the first movie, and then the second one, she moves on to Lewis. But someone on the stream did point out, going by Afterlife's logic, Egon already had a partner or a wife and a kid at that point, probably, if we're to think of Carrie Coon's age by the time we get to Afterlife.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Probably would have already had her at that point, so that would explain why him and Janine aren't together. Fair enough. You win. Retconning films. Talking about Egon. It's funny, I took my cousins to see this movie we were talking about. I thought at the end Egon was gonna pop back up again, but then I realized, I think, again, going by logic of this movie, I think we see Egon's spirit crossing over at the end of Afterlife.
It's been a while since I've seen Afterlife, so.
But that's what I'm saying. Going by my memory, I think, because again, I thought he was going to come back, and it wasn't. It was the fact that Melody finally lights her match, and that helps Nadim firebend, which is cool. But we got to talk about the villain, who's good, but probably should have shown up just a touch earlier in the movie.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. I also think, I think they could have done a little bit more to, I guess, set him up,
Yeah.
or not necessarily that, but like have some of the other ghost shenanigans.
No, I agree. They set him up great, but the problem is he gets released out of his containment, and then basically he goes to fight the Ghostbusters, and they beat him, and that's it. You know, and it's like what you should have done is break open the containment unit, and then have Ghost running amok, and have the Ghostbusters fighting the ghosts, getting them back, doing that, and then the big bad shows up and they fight him. Instead of what happens is the ghosts break out and the big bad just shows up, and it's just like, no, you should have had, because when they sent Finn Wolfhard, I forget his character's name, so I'm just calling him Finn Wolfhard. When they send him and Lucky up on the roof, I swear they were going to start blasting ghosts from the roof, like that, but they literally were just on the roof, and they're like, okay, we're coming down now. And it's just like, well, what was the point of that? And again, it would have been fun to see the 4 returning cast fight the ghosts, including Janine, you know, like that would have been fun, you know, but they don't do that. Again, it sounds like I hate this movie. I really want it to be known I don't. I think I really need to watch this movie again, and I think I kind of want to go back to the theater and see it again. And I probably will. Maybe not this week, but maybe next week. I'll take a trip to the old theater and watch it again. But yeah, it's just something, because I'm just like, man, yeah, just a little bit more. But I do like that moment when Lucky hits him with the proton pack and it just freezes, and you're like, oh, darn, that's not good. That's not good at all.
Yeah, that was actually a really, for lack of a better term, cool moment.
Yeah. You did the ice puns. It's so fantastic. I love it. I respect it. That's so chilling to hear. Man, Arnold should have been in this movie. Arnold should be in like every movie, but I think that's everything. No, but yeah, and again, Phoebe, I thought that was really cool, especially how they made the proton stream look different. I thought that was really cool. And you know, like, look, all the Ghostbusters movies do kind of end the same way, but I'm fine with that, which is like, you can't beat the big villain, but then we're going to do it anyway because the power of friendship or whatever. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. They just basically repeat the ending from the 84 one. I'm okay with that. Family or love or something always saves the day in Ghostbusters. But you know what? That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Yeah, I do like this movie. I definitely want to watch it again, especially now that I think on second viewing, because now it's not, the hype has died down. The marketing has died down. Like, I'm not going in with what I think the movie is going to be. I think I'll be able to just take it as what it is. Because I did love that whole opening. I thought that was great when they're chasing down the dragon ghost. I thought that was really fun. Like I said, I think the Peter Venkman scenes are great because Bill Murray is still really good in this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Mike, we've been going for like half an hour and with no direction. So I guess kind of, unless there's something really big you want to talk about, which you can kind of give your wrap up thoughts, or,
something we haven't really touched upon yet. How do you feel about Walter Peck now being the mayor of the city?
Look, man, if you know anything about the government in New York City, it tracks 100%. It tracks. Okay.
Yeah.
It does. It makes sense. It's a funny way to get him in. I think it also does play into, maybe not recently, but a couple of years ago, there's campaign is the wrong word, but was this whole like, Walter Peck was right about the Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 84. So I
remember seeing that.
So like, yeah, sure. Obviously, Dickless can become mayor. it's a funny way to bring him in. Again, I really wish we could have had Peter Venkman in him. Like, you had it right there, and they do it. And again, it is great. And the fact that he then has to kind of be like, I love the Ghostbusters, yay. But yeah, I mean, look, oh my lord, I'm blanking on his name again. William Afferton, is that his name? No, I want to say something Afferton. Time to hit the Google again. Sorry, kids, my brain's not.
William Atherton.
Okay, he's great, and he's really, really good as that character. And he eats it up. Winston and him are great together in their scene. Him being mayor, like I said, makes total sense. Guy worked for the EPA since 1984. He definitely ran a campaign, and people believed him. Look, guys, the guy who used to host The Apprentice was president. Nothing in movies can ever be stranger than that, okay?
True.
All right? I don't care if you support him or not. Like, Jenny, that is who he was. He was a freaking reality TV star, and he became president. So literally, there is nothing a movie can do that can be that weird. Also, we live in a world where two actors from Predator became goddamn governors of states. We also live in that world. So nothing movies can do with politics can ever be weird.
Yeah.
I always like pointing that out. When you watch Predator, you're literally watching two future governors kill things. Like, it's just, again.
Crazy times.
This stream is going to be found by people that wouldn't normally watch the stream now that I've made those comments. Fine, whatever. Ultimately, this movie, I think it's solid. I don't think it's better than Afterlife, but I had a ton of fun with it, and ultimately, isn't that what you want from the movies? You just want to have fun. Is there going to be another one? I don't know. Probably, considering the Sony logo faded into Ghost Corp, which I guess is like their new offshoot studio just for making Ghostbusters stuff.
Yep. So what they have coming next, they are working on both an animated film and an animated series for Netflix.
Okay.
So that's going to be interesting.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what comes of that. But for now, I think I can say confidently we have 4 solid Ghostbusters movies that are all in canon with each other. Because the one that I haven't seen, so I can't say if it's solid or not, isn't in canon with these 4. But whatever. Mike, any wrap-up final thoughts you want to say about Ghostbusters?
Final thoughts. I had a fun time with the movie. I can't say yet whether or not I think it's better than Afterlife. I may have to see it again just to solidify those thoughts. But going back to what I said earlier, there has not been a Ghostbusters movie that I have disliked, and I think the franchise as a whole has a lot more to offer. This premise is just too rich to keep contained to one group of characters. In fact, there's even a comic called Ghostbusters International, which has groups from all over the world that I would kind of like to see them play around with that for.
I don't know. The last time they did a movie sequel to a team going after strange things and called it International.
Well,
really worked out too well now, did it?
And that was another Sony property too.
Oh my god, yeah. Maybe not. Maybe just leave it. No, but I get what you're saying. There is a world beyond New York City and the original characters. But I think it's one of those difficult things to where it's like when franchises are so connected to a small group of people, because like, all right, you look at Star Wars and it's like, yes, once you had your main characters, there was a larger Rebel Alliance and Imperial Empire and all this stuff. Star Trek, yes, once you had your Enterprise crew, there was a larger Starfleet and there was a this, but with Ghostbusters, really only been, the 4 dudes and the 1 chick who started it. And then, you look at Afterlife, that story is following the 1 dude's daughter who had kids herself. So, it gets hard. Again, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying Winston or Ray or someone would still have to show up. They'd still have to, which again, they kind of set up in this that Winston is kind of doing that. So you could have Winston throwing the keys to another firehouse to people in Cleveland, like
or
that
Chicago.
could happen. Yeah, like that could happen. Like I'm not saying, but like you would still have to have someone there, else everybody would be like, where are the other characters? It does stink that Sigourney Weaver had scheduling conflicts, so that's why she wasn't able to be in this one.
Oh,
that would have been fun. You imagine if at the end Peter and Dana both show up and Dana suits up? That would have been cool to see.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. Well, because I have to watch it again, because if I remember correctly from Afterlife, Peter's wearing a wedding ring. And then if the post-credit scene is to lead us to believe he's married to Dana, but I don't think he's wearing a wedding ring in this one. Conspiracy theories abound. All right. Well, Mike, where can good people find you online?
You guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You guys can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and the website formerly known as Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You need escape, so do we.
And my name is Matt Kearns, and you can find me. Oh, I can pull this banner off now. And you can find me right here on Take 3 Productions, where I host the show Second Look. I have episodes coming out on King of the Crystal Skull, Jaws 3, and Daredevil 2003 at some point this year, next year, whenever I make them. You can also find me on the other YouTube channel, Matt Movie 611. And you can find me on Twitter at Kearns_Matthew. This was a discussion about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It was solid, but it also had some faults to it because my brain's not working tonight, and me and Mike both thought we were on each other's channels tonight. So like the movie itself, it had some ups and it had some downs, but overall, it was decent and okay. So thanks for watching, everybody, and take care of yourselves. Ghostbusters.